A week or two ago, we reported on the fact that it costs more to build in the UK than anywhere else in the world. It was a subject that we kicked around amongst ourselves for the best part of an hour, but the one thing we didn't do was figure out why. So I thought it was high time that we looked at that. Now, first and foremost, it's worth remembering that the construction sector currently sits at the very top of the company insolvency league table. In fact, the sector accounts for almost 18% of all company insolvencies in the UK. In the year to May 2024, we'd said goodbye to 4,287 individual companies that had each succumbed to economic and financial losses. So the money's not going there, but it doesn't end there. In the past few weeks, Sir Robert McAlpine has reported a loss of £110 million. French contractor Bouygues saw its losses widen to £62 million. BAM Construction has warned of a substantial loss this year, and there is widespread talk that Lendlease will actually leave the UK market entirely. Now, it's tempting to suggest that all the money is being spirited away by industry fat cats and their cigar smoking, Bentley driving lifestyles. But while we do have a few of those in the sector, we all know that that's surely unsustainable. Company shareholders will only defer their dividends for so long. And if they believe that the company money is being used to fund a director's excessive lifestyle, the chances are that director will soon be seeking alternative employment. All of which begs the question, where is all the money going? And my own personal feeling is that a significant part of it leaks out of the sector through nothing more than gross inefficiency. Whenever the industry enjoys a period of boom, there's always a lot of talk about fixing the roof while the sun is shining. But when the bust inevitably follows, it becomes clear that the rain is now pissing through the roof and soaking all of those below. Just think about it from the experiences of viewers on this show. On numerous occasions, we've had audience members arrive for work only to be told that their presence is not actually required. After a lot of fuss and negotiation, they're generally paid a day's wages, even though they didn't actually do any work. Obviously, they deserve that money for having turned up. But that cost could have been saved if someone, anyone, had taken the time to make a phone call. Speaking of wages, how many of you are feeling flush at the moment? My guess is probably not that many. Yes, you may have seen a wage increase in the past few years, but A, it has barely kept pace with the cost of living, and B, no wage increase would have been enough to send an employer to the wall. Truth is, you only get a pay rise if a company can afford it. If your employer is making a loss or is about to go under, you can generally whistle for any wage increase. Along similar lines, agency workers. Over the past decade or more, demolition and construction companies have done their level best to get staff off their books so they can better ride the waves of demand. Yes, they can now pick up staff and put them down as they see fit. No, they don't have to worry about sick pay and holiday pay. But how much are they paying for the privilege? Agencies have to make money somewhere, and that somewhere is the differential between how much they are paid by the companies and how much they ultimately pay the guys and girls doing the work. What about equipment? How much equipment is sat on sites up and down the country right now, just in case? Hasn't turned a wheel or a track in weeks or even months, but it sits there on the off chance that it might be required. There is a daily, weekly, and monthly rental cost against that machine. Now, taken individually, the odd failure to off hire men or machines doesn't seem like a big deal, but there are more than 3 million people working in this sector. Lord alone knows how many machines. You extrapolate those figures out, and it's easy to see where a big pot of money is going to waste. What about getting even closer to home? My dad was a trained carpenter. One of his favourite expressions was measure twice, cut once. In woodworking, that saves you time and quite possibly saves you cutting too much and then having to start again with a fresh and costly piece of timber. In construction circles, we now have technology that doesn't just measure once or even twice, it measures constantly. We have systems that ensure that we will never dig too much or too little, saving reworking, and Lord alone knows how much time, fuel, and wages. And yet there are still large parts of the industry that look at systems like that and go, nah, bits of string were good enough for my dad and they're good enough for me. Back to my earlier point about fixing the roof while the sun is shining. Now is probably not the time, judging by the number of insolvencies and financial losses we're currently experiencing. I would say that we currently have more holes in the roof than we have actual roof. But ours is a cyclical industry. Each trough is followed by a peak, each bust begats a boom. As sure as eggs is eggs, there will come a time when we have an opportunity to take a big step backwards, analyse and fix the inefficiencies that plague the sector. Whether or not we take that opportunity, however, remains to be seen.